Now, when it comes to averot, you have to know there are two types of sinners. Some sinners are intermediate sinners. They're the type of sinner who, he does the sin, but he does teshuvah the next day. And by the end of the day, he says tachanun, he goes to sleep at night, he feels bad, he feels regret, he feels compulsion. And so at the end of the day, the Mikut Ragim cannot touch him. They say, okay, leave the guy alone. What can we do about it? He did an Avirah already, but then he did the teshuvah right away, he felt bad for it, he's not going to do it again. So that's one type of sinner. He's the type of sinner that could return to the hay very easily. He fell out, no problem. Come back in, not doing it anymore. Then there's another type of sinner. This type of sinner is in a very low place. So low that he already reached rock bottom. And this sinner is now, he became like an addict to the sin. It became like a lifestyle for him. Not an aberration anymore. It became some sort of, like we said, addiction. He's already so used to it that this is part of his routine. He can't go his day without it. It became so normal to him, almost as if it already became a mitzvah to him, as they say. Now it's almost a mitzvah. He looks at it like, what's wrong with it? In the beginning it started off as a sin. Later on it's like, whatever, I already do it anyways. And they don't think too much into it. Later on it becomes a mitzvah already. You decided to rationalize why it's okay. So these are the type of people we're talking about that really sunk really low. So because they sunk so low, when they already rationalized, they're so far behind that there's almost no hope for them, because it's one thing to sin and know that you're a sinner. It's one thing to sin and know that you did something wrong. It's one thing to sin and to come to the realization that you're going to have to face consequence for your sin. But it's another thing to sin and justify it. Because if you justify it, then there's no way for you to return back to Hashem. How are you ever going to come back? You think you're a tzaddik. You think what you're doing is 100% kosher. If you think what you're doing is 100% kosher, then you can't return. The first step to teshuvah is admitting what you did was wrong. See, the first step to solving a problem is knowing that you have a problem. So remember, if you did something wrong, don't be scared to admit it. Because once you admit it, then there's hope for you to return. And so that's a very, very important, fundamental, very vital key to doing teshuvah, to remember that. Remember that if you do something wrong, first step is to realize you did something wrong. And not try to brush it off.